Hello, third graders. Today we're going to be looking at lesson number 97. That's titled Multiplying Three-Digit Numbers Part 2. So that means you've already had Part 1. So with Part 2, we're going to just kind of take a little bit of step-by-step here. One of the examples from the textbook, I'm going to zoom into that there, shows a jar of pennies and using an estimated value. Note the jar of pennies that's full, and then look at the jar of pennies that only has the bottom part filled in. So what the two students did is they took a number of pennies, 234 of them to be exact, and put them into a jar similar to the size with the full pennies, and then kind of divided the jar into 4 equal parts. So if they put 234 into 1/4 of that jar, the very bottom fourth there, then they can determine by estimating what the total number of pennies is by doing a 3-digit multiplication problem. So in this multiplication, what you want to think about doing is starting with the number on the bottom, 4, and you're going to multiply this number times each number in the top of the equation. So we're going to start with the first one, and we're going to work on 4 times 4. 4 times 4 is 16. What we do is we carry the 1 over on top of the 3, but when we multiply the next time, 4 times 3, then we have to add the number that we moved up. So 4 times 3 is 12, plus 1 more is 13. And then again, we do the same thing by bringing that number over. So now we do 4 times 2, and we're going to add 1. So 4 times 2 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So when we look at the total number there, we see 936. So we can use an estimation to say that there are this many pennies in the jar. If we were to say, well, let's round this to the nearest 100 or to the nearest 1,000, we might take a number like that and either round it down to 900 or up to 1,000, as the number was kind of an estimated. Just because there were 234 in that bottom part of the jar doesn't mean that there's going to be 936 altogether in the jar itself. So that's one way of doing an estimation. We'll take another look at an example here in just a second. All right, in the next problem here, we're going to take a look at another jar of pennies. This time a jar of pennies has 308 in that jar. And our student Chad thought that the full jar had about 7 times as many pennies as the one that had 308. So what he's going to do is he's going to take 308 and he's going to multiply that times 7. So as you see the work here, again, one of the things that we're going to do is multiply the 7 times each number in the problem above, 308, and the multiplier there. So let's start with 7 times 8. I'll pause so you can answer that to yourself. That's right, it's 56. So when we carry over this time, it was a little different than before. This time we're multiplying 7 times 0. So remember that the property of multiplication says I have to multiply first and then add or subtract. So in this problem, 7 times 0 happens to be 0, but we don't put 0 down here because we still add the 5 to that. So we'll carry the 5, but then there's nothing that carries over. So then we're going to take the last part, which is 7 times 3, which is 21. So when we're done, we have 2,156. So that's an estimated number because we don't have the actual amount. So with 3-digit multiplication, just remember to multiply by each number in the multiplier, and then make sure that while you're carrying across the top, then you're putting your answer down here in the bottom for an estimation. Again, I'm always open for help if you need that on any of the problems that you're working on. Have a great day. We'll see you tomorrow.